We've got some good news this week, some fun stuff to talk about. And in fact, we're going to bring back some news from last week because we had a little bit of controversy. And Stephen Pope was the author. So we'll dive into that and get Stephen's thoughts just so he can defend himself a little bit. So last week, we talked about reusing old products for new products. And some people were like, no, definitely don't do that. You're putting yourself at risk. Amazon could take down your listing. Some of us were, maybe if the product is similar or maybe better just to do a variation. So wanted to get your thoughts on where you were going with this, Stephen, and what your actual recommendation is for people out there.
Yeah, so there's two types of Amazon sellers. Okay, so I'm in one camp and there's another camp. In one camp, the one I'm not a part of, you read every file in the help files on Amazon, you read the patents, you're looking for Amazon to tell you how to run your brand, and you follow the line and detail line by line. Even though Amazon doesn't follow the same details, even though Amazon doesn't know how its own algorithm works, though China violates all the same rules. But that's that camp. And there's nothing wrong with that camp. The camp that I'm in, though, is ignore all the rules and just do what's best for the customers. And instead of reading the rule book, just understand what Amazon enforces de facto. And I can confidently tell you right now, I have never, not a single time, ever seen an account suspended or a listing yanked from reusing a like product to a 2.0 version. Not a single time. So and I have personally been given access to over 5,000 Amazon accounts.
Yeah. So we debated that pretty heavily on what is your, so on like product, right? So for me, I was like, my example was, okay, we're talking about dice here. Well, all right, let's say I go and these dice, they sucked. Well, the star ratings were good. So you probably wouldn't bring back a product that had a star rating of like 2.5 or 3.5. But, so these dice were fine. You discontinued them. You lost your manufacturer, whatever. Then I found another manufacturer and I wanted to do dice for Dungeons and Dragons, right? I would consider that a like product. Yeah.
So I'd say we're getting a little grayer if we switch like from regular dice to D&D dice with like some splashes and like actual dragon designs. It's a little dicey there, but would I do it? Yes, I still would. Yeah. I think this area is not enforced by Amazon. Now, a lot of people misconstrue the presentation here as take this water bottle and start selling dark chocolate. And that would not be what I'm defending. Right? So dice to dice, probably okay. Like the like product, never once seen a problem. And we see manufacturers historically for the past, I don't know how long UPCs have existed, but let's say decades, they've been reused for decades, right? Supplements and health products do this all the time. It was done so much that when I first started my agency 7 years ago, I had a supplement brand that I had to disconnect 7 different products from the same UPC code because it was so reused. Like that's how common this practice is in manufacturing, to reuse data, reuse barcodes, reuse ASINs, etc. So now, to be clear, Amazon's T&C policy says don't do this. Anything, even if it's a color change or a minimal change, must be new UPC, new color. So that's the line by line for those that care about that. But for those that realistically want to take advantage of things that Amazon doesn't enforce, this is not something that Amazon actively enforces, or at least I've never seen it enforced personally. There are many things Amazon enforces. Review manipulation, never touch that. Don't even mention the word review on your product inserts. Don't have star ratings on your inserts. That sort of stuff, fastest way to get your inventory suspended and whatnot. Sending out late products, late shipments, fastest way to get suspended from FBM shipments. There's all things we could talk about for what Amazon does enforce. But when it comes to reusing an ASIN, a product that you own, you manufactured, you made, and reusing it and resupplementing it is typically not enforced. And I will defend that as an okay practice, not one that follows T&C. I'm admitting that, but one that we don't see enforced.
Yep.
So I think one of the big things that we kept coming back to, like every example we could try to think of, we kind of came back to, well, why not just create a variation and have a variation listing? You get the reviews and everything rolled together versus just switching out the listing for the new product. Because then if it is technically a new product, the UPCs aren't going to match the actual product that you're selling any longer.
So the typical use case here is a discontinued product that hasn't been actively sold in 6+ months. Mm-hmm. So parentage does nothing to aid you here. Often the case in many categories, parentage don't even share reviews anymore. And so there would be no value to doing that. It's almost as if it was a separate listing, orphaned by itself. So the repurposing would be like, hey, I made an improvement to my product. It got discontinued and I'm coming back with it. All of the algorithmic rankings still exist. And it's like a reactivation of the old rankings. And so let's say you had 2,000 keywords. There's a lot of value to that. And where Amazon is shivving us with FBA fees, changes to how reimbursements are made, and everything else that Amazon does, it behooves sellers to take advantage of whatever they can to grow their brand. Literally, if we took a DNA analysis of the blood of an Amazon seller, it's tenacity and grit. Does this meet tenacity and grit and dodging and weaving and boxing with Amazon? It absolutely does. So for those that are risk adverse, this isn't for you. For those that are brand new sellers, obviously this won't even apply to you. And don't reuse somebody else's ASINs. We're talking a very specific use case and ideally an improvement on a product. But I understand that most people or many people won't agree with this, and that TNC says this, and I'm cool with that. But I like to give brands that I work with every ammunition tool in the toolbox that I can to help them grow their sales on Amazon.
Yeah.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying, right? That's the whole thing. And like, just kind of building off of what you said there, if you think about, how much money you put into growing an ASIN, say you have, 2,000 reviews plus, how much money have you spent on ads to get that, right? Like you're investing in that long-term and then you're just going to throw it away. One of the things that I'm seeing quite a bit, like I'd say in the last 6 months, I've seen this rise become more and more frequent, where all of a sudden these listings are coming out of nowhere and I've never seen them before. And all of a sudden they've got, 1,000 plus reviews, and all of a sudden they're starting to move into the market. And it's like, well, where did this come from? And then, you hit the sales, the Keepa thing, and you see, oh, this product hasn't been sold in, 6-8 months. And all of a sudden it's coming out of nowhere. And it's like, I've never seen this before. You read the reviews. I don't know if these reviews actually match up with what this is. So this is something I'm definitely seeing a lot. And
those Chinese sellers are violators.
Oh, 100%.
And they should be taken.
Exactly who it is.
Hijacking a listing is not what we're defending today. We're talking about reusing your own work. But what you're describing, I typically see from a Chinese hijack.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's definitely a different circumstance. Yeah, I mean, I definitely get what you're saying. I would do this if it wasn't a product that, or if it was a product that if it gotten taken down and I had to figure out how to get it back up, it's not going to, destroy my business, essentially. If this is like my flagship product, I might think twice about it if you're building a brand. But for, a lot of different products that you're selling, just if it's just dice or something like that, and you can easily repurpose it and take that little bit of risk, it all depends on your risk tolerance as well. It might be minimal, but it's definitely not zero.
Yeah.